I did genuinely consider like shaving my legs and starting a foot fetish OnlyFans because I thought, well, I'm not.
We wouldn't
particularly.
even need to shave your entire leg.
I'm not particularly hairy. Yeah, so I could just like pretend.
Just shave the bottom bit.
Yeah, and then just like take pictures of my feet and put them. This is when I was unemployed, and then I got a job. So, I was just like, you know what? I'd rather not like receive dick pics from random strangers and stuff. I think that might be quite a harrowing experience. So
that'll probably be quite from like accounts I've read of people that are like Instagram models and stuff like that. It's the DMs they receive are
a whole. They probably reveal some. I already have quite probably quite a pessimistic view of humanity. I don't need to whore myself out on the internet.
I've been on Omegle enough times.
Oh, Jesus, yeah. Hello, and welcome back to yet another episode of the Scrambled Checksum podcast, coming at you via various internet platforms, including maybe the Fediverse, who the hell knows. My name is Ethan, and as always, I am joined by my wonderful, esteemed colleague, friend,
trusted Fediverse advisor,
guidance counsellor, mentor, lover, who knows. Kieran, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you. I'm very excited to be on the Fediverse. I'm surfing the Fed, and I've never felt cooler.
Me
surf
neither.
The Feds. I'm federating all my data. I'm going around. I'm joining mastodons and.
All the dons,
all the dons,
the mastodons, the other more different dons, like Donald,
Blastodons,
Megadon,
yep, Megalodon, yep,
yeah, all the dons.
I'm just loving it, just loving every moment of my life on the Fediverse.
Yeah, you've got some of that federated salt in your hair, just like it's all you windswept.
I've never felt more federated. I've never felt more like a member of an Active Directory.
Wow. That is... Hey. It's a bit of...
Yeah, my directories are active. My operating system is Windows. Life is good. My servers are also on Windows.
Yeah, you've enjoyed all your... You've enjoyed setting up all your group policies and all that stuff.
And now I can't wait to get started on the cloud with Azure.
Your operational units. And,
My Azure cloud instances are spinning up as we speak.
Oh yeah, running all the chat GPTs on them.
Yeah, exactly. GitHub repositories.
Oh shit! Did that happen since last time we recorded a podcast? What's it, McCordy? That the image generating, video generating thing. Or did we talk about that last time? I feel like we might have
the ChatGPT video generation.
Yeah, not ChatGPT.
We touched upon it in the intro and made light of the fact that it couldn't make artwork as detailed as it couldn't make artwork as shit as ours. That was the extent to which we touched upon it.
So we did talk about that. Okay, never mind. Then we don't need to
very briefly. We kind of clowned on it, but in a way of like we were laughing, but it was a laugh of nervousness.
Yes, laughing and crying.
I
remember having a conversation, but I definitely had a conversation with one of my friends last week, and I can't remember which bits were part of that conversation or and which bits were. You know what? Never mind. We're all going to be generally replaced by AI. That's all you need to know. Moving swiftly onwards. Kieran, I understand that there is. You want to talk about Apple and the EU and shit.
Yeah, I love Apple, first of all. So that was why, this topic really stood out to me as a way that I could talk about Apple. I was glad last week we could talk about the Vision Pro. And now this week I get to talk about Apple again, so it's wonderful. No, it's the new EU legislation, and my understanding is this doesn't apply to the UK.
Fantastic, that's what I like.
Wonderful.
To hear.
Love the fact that we don't have any of this coming in. Love the fact that big tech, come on in.
Yeah,
come on in. It's great because for big tech they can both threaten to leave the UK as a single market.
Yeah, and also, with the other hand, screw us over because our government... It's
wonderful, isn't it?
Because our government is just as bad. And,
isn't it great that Amazon can be like, hey, we don't want to pay any tax here. And also, like, if you try and copy the legislation that's being rolled out in the EU, we'll just leave the UK. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Well, it's good, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know what? It really shows how much power we now yield as a nation since Brexit.
I've
It's
never
really
felt
worked
more.
out. It's worked out well for us.
Yeah, I can't wait until we become the nation of Microsoft.
Yeah.
We're fully federated as a country.
I'm so glad that life-changing vote was one that I couldn't cast because I was too young. But I'm glad that like old people like my grandparents who will like not have the effect in their lives for the vast majority of their lives. I'm glad they were allowed to cast their misguided vote on it.
Let's roll out the red carpet. Come on in, guys. Anyway,
Yeah.
so we're not currently the UK a subsidiary of Microsoft.
No.
But for the time being, it's not coming into force in the UK. But my understanding is that it's you probably know more about it than I do in terms of the legislation itself. But it's the idea to prevent like tech companies becoming monopolies and abusing their position, right?
Yeah. So this is the EU Digital Markets Act, right?
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the idea is right that they kind of they kind of listed gatekeepers in each area, right?
Yeah. I don't know whether the Digital Markets Act. I think that's specific to gatekeepers of platforms for distributing software or apps. I think, isn't it? Whether there's a number of different apps that or different acts, sorry, that are going through the works to kind of promote competition and like pro-consumer actions.
Exactly that.
Some of which have already come into place, like the one that's forced Apple to do USB-C and whatnot.
Yeah. The one that I find interesting particularly, before I get into this Apple-specific stuff, is when I saw the list of gatekeepers and like how much of the tech landscape it spans. And then there's so it shows this like wide range of all these different gatekeepers across all these different like technology spaces. You're like, God, that covers loads of stuff. And then there was like a separate list that just showed the companies, and there was like 7.
Yeah.
Probably less. It was like Microsoft, Meta, Apple, Google, and then ByteDance. I think that was it.
Yeah.
For like all of these areas.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that was all of them. Amazon were in there actually as well for online marketplace. But that was it. I don't think there was any others. Like Netflix wasn't on there.
Yeah, Netflix. I think that's one of the. I feel like Netflix has a bigger mind share than market share.
I think Netflix would have been on there 10 years ago for streaming.
Maybe, yeah. But I feel like then like they weren't really even a monopoly, were they? Really though, at that point they were more of a they're
like an up and comer, right?
They were what's the word I'm looking for? They were like a
disruptor.
The first, yeah, they were a disruptor. They were a first mover, weren't they? No one else had started doing it yet, so they hadn't actively crushed the competition. There just wasn't any competition.
There was like YouTube, but that wasn't really a competitor.
Not
especially
really,
back
no.
then with
And
the
you had Love Film Online, which was shit.
I'm sure Blockbuster tried to launch something eventually when they missed the chance to buy Netflix.
Yeah.
But anyway, this new thing with Apple, specifically, so they appointed all these gatekeepers, and I think Apple were listed for mobile operating systems of iOS. macOS didn't get a feature on there. Windows did. iOS didn't. Windows did. macOS didn't. iOS did. But
yeah, I found that funny.
Yeah. A bit of Safari got listed, I guess, because of iPhone users. Safari was listed on the browsers.
Yeah, because on iOS and iPadOS and all its blah 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 blah. Basically any browser that runs on there has to use the WebKit engine.
That explains it. Because Chrome. It was just Chrome and Safari on the browsers, which yeah.
I don't know whether does Android have a similar thing where they have to use Chromium. I'm not sure.
The thing is, so many browsers use Chromium that like, what other browser? I guess the Firefox. But I'm not sure.
I'm using Firefox on my phone and all of my computers. Thank you very much.
This is true. So yeah, I don't know. But like Mozilla Foundation aren't going to end up on that list, are they? So it's like, I'm assuming that Android
we can
doesn't.
Dream maybe one day.
Yeah,
we aim.
Well then, come on Mozilla. You got that email market share with Thunderbird for sure. definitely a solid Outlook competitor. Anyway, so they had all these services listed. Apple were listed on there for the they also had like a separate one, I believe, for mobile app stores, which obviously the App Store was listed, Play Store was listed. And this is where the like controversy that I wanted to talk about came from. I wanted to get your take on, because the idea with the Digital Markets Act is that it's supposed to open things up. So first of all, it was like you had to make it easy to move your data off of the platform was one of the requirements.
Yeah, which I believe they have announced a way. They've announced a way that they're going to be making it easier to migrate from iOS to
yes,
Android.
It was really funny too to see all the cloud providers do it. So like they did it a few months ago. I remember Google Cloud Platform was like, "Hey guys, we're getting rid of egress fees. You can migrate from us for free. Aren't we great?" And then it's like a few months later they have to do it. So that's no coincidence, right? AWS.
Oh no, I'm sure. No, they did it out of the goodness of their hearts.
Yeah,
the legislation just was like, maybe we should make everyone do this.
They're like,
right?
What they're already doing, that's great. Let's make all their competitors do it. So yeah, that was quite funny.
Yeah, good guy Google.
I did find it ridiculous when you look up like how much. So the like ingress fees to bring your data onto the platform super low, and then to get your data off of it was just absurdly expensive for some of them.
Yeah,
like crazy expensive. Like the transfer fees for like getting data off of the platform was ridiculous, which is just so like monopolistic, right?
Yeah, I guess I'd never really thought of that, because like obviously in terms of doing migrations with data and stuff, I've only ever really done it from a personal perspective, and there's so little data you just put it on a hard drive, then upload it to wherever
even
else.
At their costs that were very high, from a personal perspective you'd be like, oh okay, that's not very much money. But like from a business perspective, if you're like a web company and you have like
terabytes upon
terabytes or petabytes of data, it just locks you into the platform basically, which is crazy.
Why change? Why go to the hassle anyway? Like
it's like the fees just increase each year. It's reliable. You can count on it. You just budget for the increased fees each year.
Yeah, easy
you just
peasy.
Pass that cost on to your users. That's the way to do it.
It's inflation, right?
Yeah, you just pass the cost directly onto the users.
So it's good. It's good for the economy.
Brilliant. So going back to the Apple thing again. So that's the idea of it. It makes it easier to migrate, and it's also to allow on like app stores, for example, to allow side loading. So the idea being that you can run an app on your iPhone that isn't on the App Store.
Yeah.
What I wanted to get your take on here was, so Apple are allowing this, but apparently the rules they've put in place for app developers to do this are so like they charge you still.
Don't they still have to be? Basically, the app still has to be approved by Apple or something.
Yeah, so you have to still be a registered developer. So you have to still pay them their $99, I think it is a year, like nominal fee to develop iOS apps. Then you still have to pay a 10% transaction for digital goods and services. You still have to pay a payment processing fee if you use the App Store's payment processing. That's another 3%, which is high for like payment processing compared to like Stripe.
Mm-hmm.
You can use a third party though at no additional cost. And then you have to pay what they're calling a core technology fee, which means that you have to pay 50 cents, so 50 euro cents, for every first install per year. Over a 1 million threshold. So if your app's a big app.
Okay, so a couple of those. Right, okay. So the transaction fee. Obviously, I'm relying on you for the context here of it being steep, but regardless of that, it's not mandatory. Like, fair enough. If you're going to use Apple's payment processor transaction fee, fair enough. That I don't have a problem with that. Access to the developer tools so you can develop apps. I'm not even really sure I have a problem really with having to pay a monthly fee for that, because you like Apple is like providing. And I don't know. you probably know more than. But actually no, because you can get the Android developer kit for free, can't you? Because I've got it.
Yeah, you can download it for free. I assume that if you want to list on I don't know if it's free to like completely just list on the Google Play Store and just have it as a free app, and like Google never takes anything. I think the $100 a year for the registration, that's kind of more in line with something like Steam.
Right.
Where you have to pay for the right to distribute. And I think they would bill it as it's a paywall that's small enough that it won't gatekeep from small app developers, which if they don't localize that $100, I would disagree with for some markets, but that's another matter. And then, they're like, oh, it's to prevent people from just spamming the App Store, which happens anyway, but Apple just makes money off of it.
Yeah.
But they're like, oh, it's to prevent bad actors from just setting up an account.
Like Tim Sweeney.
Yeah, and just shoveling shit onto the App Store. Like, oh no, it's to prevent that. It's to stop.
Yeah, to stop Tim Sweeney.
Yeah, exactly. To stop Epic Games shoveling.
Yeah, we'll let all these apps with like the literally not what they say they actually are. They're just like they pretend to be some app that lets you stare at big boobies all day or whatever.
We'll let like a million apps that say that they're like an X-ray app.
Yeah, and then it's just like harvesting a load of shit ton of data and sending it to wherever, and like mining cryptocurrency on your phone or whatever.
It's my X-ray app.
We're not going to let we're not going to let Epic Games on the App Store because they clearly have demonstrated that they cannot be trusted, Kieran.
They send tweets out that are negative to Apple.
What's a tweet?
They send X's out that are negative towards Apple.
Come to think of it, what is a computer?
Yeah, they make statements against Apple, so they must be stopped.
Yes, they must.
Terror has to end.
It must.
Epic Games. So yeah, that's their billing model. Interestingly, I've run the numbers for a say you have a modestly successful app. You don't sell anything within your iOS app. You just release it, right? And you get, in the first year, 5 million installs, which is, I would say, pretty modest for installs in the EU. To me,
I think that's ridiculous.
What, that no app would ever get 5 million installs in the first year?
No, I think it's ridiculous that fee exists.
I know, so that fee for an app that gets 5 million installs in the first year, they don't do anything. They don't sell digital services. Under the old fee structure, it will be...
I mean, what's it costing Apple? If Apple...
That's nothing.
Exactly. So why do they need to charge for it?
It's to use their core technology.
Which is bullshit.
Yeah.
That's bullshit. They've sold the phone. That's it. It's not their phone anymore. So they are gaining or losing nothing from you distributing this app using a platform that isn't theirs onto a phone that's no longer theirs because they sold it. Like that is bullshit. That should not be allowed. So that's my very solid view on that one. I think if you're not using their payment processor, no fee, that's fine. The fee, if you're using their payment processor,
they can charge what they like, right? You can use an alternative if you want.
You can use an alternative. That's the purpose of competition. That's fine. The fee for developing for them, do they need to charge that? No. Are they in the right to charge it? Yeah, technically they're putting work into the ongoing development of the tools and the language and blah 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 blah, the APIs, etc. So, I would say. I mean, I'd say it's a dick move to charge for it because they don't need to, and they know that people will pay it because they are a monopoly platform or part of the duopoly. So people are going to pay it. I don't think that they should. I think that's unfair, really. Because they like I say, they're not. They're already taking a fucking huge profit on every phone they sell. So, like, why do they need to take...
Yeah, it's like, why do they need to bilk you for the software?
They don't need the money.
No, it's...
you should. I think it's not acting in good faith. You should basically, if you could, sideloading an app should basically mean you can put an app on your iPhone without it ever coming into any kind of contact with Apple themselves.
Yeah.
That's what it should mean, and that's not what it is. So
it's ridiculous. So I worked out using their own calculator. If your app gets 5 million first installs in the first year from EU customers from iOS, you don't use their payment method, you don't sell anything within your app, that's just installs, right? You could be a free app, from my understanding. So how much do you think that would cost you as like a ballpark figure per month?
So free app.
Free app, 5 million installs in a year, which I feel like is pretty modest for an app. It's the whole of the EU. Outside of the App Store, say you get 5 million installs.
Well, that's 500,000 euros, isn't it?
Well, 50 cents per.
Oh, is it 50 cents? Sorry, not a cent. Jesus. Okay.
No, 50 cents per install.
Okay, so.
Well, for each first annual install, which is a ridiculous, like, good luck estimating how many first installs you're going to get in a year over 1 million threshold. You get your first million free. So
it is basically every time a new account first clicks get on the
and
app.
I'm assuming that would count as a new get, even if they'd installed it previously on the App Store, because they're not going to give you that for free, are they?
No.
So yeah, every time an account goes get. Anyway, I'll spare you the details. It's 166,000 euros per month.
Jesus.
For nothing from Apple.
That is absolutely fucking unreal. Like, how? Surely they're not going to be allowed to get away with that.
Well, they've already been fined.
That is
like a massive amount. Like, that's so against the spirit of this legislation.
How can they possibly justify that?
That's the thing. What are they charging you for at that point? Core technology.
That's ridiculous. That's like a house builder building a house, selling it to you, and then charging you for buying a table from IKEA and putting it in the dining room.
Yeah.
Like,
it's insane.
They had nothing to do with it. Like, that is like, what justification do they have? It's your house. Like, it's nothing to do with them anymore.
It's like,
what can they argue? Like, oh well, we're still providing OS updates, which are required to support the security of these apps. Well, yeah, but they're also, you would be doing that anyway. So, and
yeah,
oh man, it's yeah,
ridiculous.
like you say, it's just not at all in the spirit of it, is it?
No, it's like they've been told, okay, you need to allow sideloading, so they implement a system that gatekeeps it from anyone that's got an app that has any traction.
Yeah.
So, because the thing is, you won't sideload if you can't get the apps that you use, which are generally ones that get tons of installs. And they've made it so expensive for apps that get tons of installs. And it also means that they can basically ban anything from the App Store that they don't like. Epic. And what are Epic going to do? Release it for sideloading? And then what?
But they can't, though. Because they're not allowing Epic to even have a developer account.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's another. They can just ban you from having a developer account anyway.
Yeah.
Which gatekeeps you from the platform, regardless of.
Yeah. So it actually just doesn't make any difference. Basically.
No, it's like they may as well. This is just a fuck you to anyone that wants to.
It's malicious compliance.
Even Mark Zuckerberg said that like no app developer will use this.
Yeah.
I'm assuming if you had a small app, you would as well, because it's like it doesn't cost you anything because you don't have 1 million installs. But
yeah, but what if you suddenly do overnight?
Yeah, then it's like if you've got a free app and suddenly it takes off, you're supposed to live in fear that you're gonna get like a 200,000 euro bill one month just because your app got popular.
Yeah, it's
like, can you imagine the guy that made Flappy Bird?
Yeah,
he allows sideloading on like, so I think Flappy Bird was free, right?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, he allows sideloading, and then just overnight, Apple are like, "Oh, hey, your app got real popular. Congrats!
Here's a bill.
Here's your €2 million bill.
Yeah.
For our core technology that was vital to your app's success.
What's a load of bollocks.
It sucks, right? Because it's not gonna. The thing is, what's gonna happen? They'll get a fine. So what? Like,
I hope it's a proportionate fine. I think the EU. I think the EU's gonna come back with something.
They've been fined like, what is it, 1.2 billion already?
Yeah, I don't think the EU will stand for it though. To be honest.
No, I think they've got enough leverage that I mean,
they are a huge market. So
this is a lot of that'll be interesting to see how this plays out, because it's going to be years, right, before something like this goes anywhere. And Apple are obviously like, they have enough. They have lawyers who have, I assume, looked at the like risk and reward of this, and they've been like, "Yep, go ahead. You'll probably pay less in fines."
I want to find those lawyers and ask them how they sleep at night.
I know, it's like, Tim Apple. You're like, dude, what are you doing? What is it in what?
Buy your mum an iPhone.
So my question to you, I guess, based on all of that you've just heard, is have Apple turned into like, I don't even want to say turned into, because I don't know if they're still like it in some ways, but have Apple become peak Microsoft? You remember when Microsoft had that policy? I forget what it was called, but like the like engulf something extinguish.
I think Apple have had that policy for a long time.
But why don't they get the PR stuff? Like Microsoft were like, do you remember? Oh, I mean, we don't remember as such because it was a long time ago. But like the hate that Microsoft got and the bad publicity and how uncool it made them. Like, why don't Apple get any of that backlash?
Microsoft have never, ever been sexy, though.
But are they becoming it? Is Satya?
No.
I feel like they came closer recently. Once they binned off Bulmer.
Oh, well, yeah, they're definitely cooler. But that doesn't mean they're cool.
HoloLens. Yeah, they peaked when they released the HoloLens and like when the Surface Pro was kind of coming out, and then I feel like they've gone down. But
the Apple Vision Pro kind of comes out and is like a way less functional version of the HoloLens, but everyone loves it because I feel
Apple like if you know what I would do if I was Microsoft? If I was Satya right now, I would offload LinkedIn. Nothing is dragging down their coolness more. Like, not even, they make money off it. I think LinkedIn makes more revenue per user than any of the other social media by far. But I would bin it off tomorrow if I was Satya.
If I was Satya, I would say, right, I'm going to have a good look at myself and I'm going to go, you know what? I'm going to develop a backbone and some core moral principles, and I'm going to fuck off this everything as a service strategy, because although it's going to make us fuck tons of money, it's not fair. So we're not going to do that. I'm going to stop harvesting tons of data from people who paid for my software. And I am going to stop fucking about, and I'm going to release Windows 12, and it's actually going to be a new version of Windows from the ground up instead of a patched together buggy like shell on top of a shell on top of a shell on top of a shell. I'm going to grow a pair, and I'm actually going to invest in some real hardware and make some actual good computers that are repairable. And I'm going to carry on investing in cloud infrastructure and in AI and blah, 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 but in an ethical way.
See, that's why you're not Satya, and then I'm not Satya just because
they'd probably be bankrupt tomorrow, but...
Yeah, and then I'm not Satya because, like, tomorrow I'd sell LinkedIn just because there's no platform that's less cool than the one that invites you to offer opinions to articles, and you share it on your profile in the most cringeworthy way imaginable.
I just gave up on LinkedIn because I went on LinkedIn. I actually quite like the original reason for LinkedIn existing, which was to basically just keep in touch with industry stuff. But it's just become another Facebook.
Hey guys, super happy to be sharing my latest update that I found out today about collaboration in the workplace. Really excited, guys. Found out collaboration is good. Just wanted to let you all know. Just discovered that today. groundbreaking stuff, guys.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Ethan gave Kieran congratulations for being at his new place of work for a year. Well done, Kieran.
Happy work anniversary.
Yeah, cool. Good. Kudos. Endorse skill that doesn't matter. Nice.
Kudos to my boss for being a great boss. Kudos.
Yeah.
Kudos. Great leader. Really inspiring. Hey, give me that promotion. Kudos.
Yeah, man. God.
Hey, guys, just contributed to an article about why it's important to have teamwork in an office environment. Really, really great stuff. Check it out, guys. Read my post. Read my crap. Read my quote.
Who knew? Like, working together as a cohesive team is good. Newsflash. Nice.
You know, just last week I was speaking to my mentor, and he said to me, "Why don't you think more like the humble ant?" He said, think about how the ant can lift 20 times its body weight. Its determination, its humble grittiness in achieving its goal, its hive mind-like approach to completing a task.
Yeah.
So I took that to heart.
Yeah, and
I went out.
I went out and I instantly signed a waiver for the working time regulation. And
exactly. I then lifted my car above my head and was crushed. But you know what?
By
Next
joy.
week I'm going to come back.
Crushed with joy.
Next week I'm going to come back and I'm going to lift it again.
Yeah, because
if I'm out of the hospital.
Thanks, LinkedIn.
Thanks, LinkedIn. Always a source of humor. Going back to Apple then, just to close it out. This is Microsoft with Internet Explorer, right?
Yeah.
All over again. But why are they not? Why is it just because their products are sexy and people like them, and then because of that,
I think that's
people
part
don't?
Of it.
It's probably right. Like, they've got a good brand image of like they make cool products and they make beautiful products, and because of that, people are
I wonder whether you could argue, is it more damaging now to have a monopoly over this sort of thing than it was back in like the noughties when Internet Explorer was the monopoly?
It's probably about the same,
or was
right?
it more damaging there? Because right then, like, obviously the internet was an emerging technology, whether now it's, well, I don't know. I hesitate to call it a mature technology, but it's definitely closer to that now.
I feel like back then it might have been more damaging, because if you think like,
yeah, I was thinking that
Apple are hurting the likes of, like, if Apple do really well, it hurts the likes of, realistically, it hurts the likes of Google, right? Even us talking about these people paying this fee, it's apps with more than 1 million installs a year. Mostly it's your big name apps, right? Whereas if you look at Microsoft and Internet Explorer, they were killing off like Netscape and like smaller web browsers that were making a product that people liked, but they had to charge for it because it was what they made. And then Microsoft policy was just, we'll give it away for free with Windows and put them out of business. That's it. We'll just make the same thing for free.
Yeah.
And they were like riding roughshod as well over like industry stuff. It's like, oh, hey, you want to have an HTML standard? Yeah, we're going to put our own thing in Internet Explorer. Fuck you. We're doing it. We got 90% market share. What are you going to do? Deal with it.
Yeah.
So that's in some ways worse, but also, was it the same?
I think it, yeah. Because
if you think back then, people that were fond of like Netscape and that, I assume would have been the like tech nerds. So it's like, again, it's just like people like us complaining, but the masses are just like, hey, my web browser's free now. That's cool.
Yeah, they don't care.
Is that the same thing with Apple, where it's like, oh, hey, you know, it's like, oh, they're stopping a game from coming in the App Store. Oh, that's them like.
The thing is, I think they don't know they care. Because like at some point there will be something that they can't do because of this, and then they'll be like, oh, well, that's stupid. But like, because it's like anything, you can only give so many fucks, can't you? And
yeah,
being
and it's whether as well,
nerdily inclined, we give fucks about this, but not about like other things that are equally fuckworthy.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, do you think as well, because it's the big things with Epic over Fortnite, which is like their main cash cow, is it because Fortnite's player base is so young, and if you're like a stereotypical 12-year-old that plays Fortnite, you're not making the purchasing decision about your phone as such? And is the coolness of the iPhone enough that you'll sacrifice being able to play Fortnite on your phone? Is that like a real struggle that kids have now? Are they God, do I get an iPhone or do I play Fortnite on my phone?
I literally do not have any kind of basis to answer that question at all. I have no idea.
I think it's probably more likely. I think it's probably more likely. Fuck it, they can both install TikTok. Who cares?
Yeah, like I don't know.
I can film my vids. I can become famous.
In my opinion, 12-year-olds shouldn't have a smartphone. Period.
They should have a desktop computer that they built themselves. And if they can't build one themselves, they shouldn't have a computer, and they should be glad of it.
No, I think they should have a phone that does the basic. If they have a handheld communication device of any form, it should be purely for keep their own safety.
Emergencies.
That
feature phone.
That should be it.
A feature phone for emergencies.
Yeah, they can contact their parents, they can or guardian or whatever. They maybe it's got like a kid tracker or whatever on it, and that's it.
And it can serve them ads.
Yeah, sure, naturally, yeah. I mean, I thought that went without saying. Like,
yeah, of course, obviously.
Yeah.
And then at home they'll have a desktop computer, which I think leads in quite nicely to the desktop computer that you currently have in is it in a state of disassembly, or as it's a test bench, is it technically in a state of assembly?
Let's go with
the hard-hitting questions.
Let's go with the second one.
Is it working?
Let's go with the second one, shall we?
Does it post?
Yeah.
Does it boot?
Most of the time.
so what are you tinkering with then, dude? What's Ethan's latest project?
So it's one that you're aware of. So I've been a little while ago. Obviously, we did a bit of testing with TrueNAS Core, didn't we?
Yes, some mead-fueled testing.
Yes, it was mead-fueled. That was good mead. Oh, I need more mead.
I have a need.
I have a need for mead.
A need for mead.
There's a title for this podcast.
Maybe we could make a pact that any further work that we do on the on this backup project is 100% fueled by mead.
Yes, I think that would be wise. I think it's necessary, really. It'd be.
Yeah, so I think when we get a complicated error message come up and neither of us in a fit state to diagnose
I think it'd be unwise to continue without mead.
I think so. Yeah. When we say fuck it, let's just open all the ports.
Yeah. Yeah. Why?
This VPN stuff's too complicated.
Yeah. We're going for a full open border policy. So someone has to.
Oh god. No. Screw it. No passwords.
Yeah.
No VPNs. None of that complexity.
None of that.
Too difficult.
None of that fascism.
No. Just. Let's get in my router settings. Yeah, next.
Sorry. I just felt like I needed to take the piss out of the left a little, because we took the piss out of the right a little bit earlier. So and
in many previous episodes.
Yeah, and in many I mean, I'm not sure I feel comfortable actually having done that. Yeah, just to be clear, I don't believe that. What people, you know what, fuck it, believe whatever you want to believe about my political opinions. I'm a nice person and I'm not a fascist.
I think what you were saying is
or a lefty, whatever you want.
I think what you were saying is that you're doing a gentle ribbing of people who maybe on Twitter might say that closing a port would be akin to fascism.
Yes. Well, no, but yes. It was more of a ribbing of people who accuse literally anything that isn't left as far as left as you can go, socialist or communist policy, as fascist. That was kind of who I was ribbing, really.
Okay, now that you're hated by everyone,
yeah.
If you look in the description, you'll see a list of the open ports on Ethan's router currently.
Yeah, but if you want to save yourself some time, it's all of them.
Yeah, just all of them.
Just so you don't really need to look at the list.
Too much meat involved in the backup service.
I didn't even individually open the ports. I just created my own firmware that just opens all the ports. There's just no way to close them. They're just open.
I understand you've also switched your network password from WPA to encryption to WEP.
Oh yeah, naturally.
Anything that's hashed on Ethan's network, all 100% using MD5.
I just got rid of any kind of encryption.
Any
really.
encryption or hashing, just all in plain text.
Yeah, all plain text. Why use security? I mean, I don't need the overhead, you know.
Yeah, and it's like, why make things inconvenient if someone's already accessed your network?
Yeah.
Why put roadblocks in their way?
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, you know, we've all got busy lives, you know, got responsibilities. Let's
just have at it.
Yeah, just have it.
So anyway,
have my data. Google and Microsoft already have it anyways, and so Facebook and Meta, all the other big ones, big data.
Yeah. So your current security vulnerability waiting to happen is thankfully not booting at the minute consistently.
Well, it boots most of the time. So basically, I've done some testing and on virtual machines with TrueNAS. I've gone from I thought TrueNAS Scale was paid for, but it actually isn't. So I've moved over to TrueNAS Scale because I've kind of so TrueNAS Core is FreeBSD based, whether TrueNAS Scale is Linux based, and has a number of features that aren't available on FreeBSD.
Nice.
So it's generally the kind of like if you're going to do anything other than purely just hosting files, you probably want to go with Scale. So we probably want to go with Scale.
Probably want to go. Okay, cool.
But yeah, so I thought, right, I need to run it on bare metal, do some experimentation. So I've been playing around with, like, you know, setting up some shares and things and learning how it works. And then I was like, you know what, I want to see how managing VMs works and everything. I'll try running a VM on here. It turns out, I don't think my now very ancient computer that I'm using to as the host for this is really up to the task of running a virtual machine, even on top of such a lightweight operating system.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like you're basically running it on the system without much overhead. It
took like 20 minutes to boot the install ISO for Linux Mint, I can't remember the name of the desktop, but the lightweight.
Oh my, that's such a light installer
version. Yeah. And then it instantly crashed.
Oh no. Oh, that's. I mean, I'm impressed that you gave it 20 minutes to boot.
Well, I was doing it among, like, I was doing other things, so I literally just kind of left it open on my other screen, to see if it would unfreeze.
Oh, I couldn't do that. I'd be looking at it every 2 minutes, and if it didn't.
I was looking at every 2 minutes, but I was also working.
You resisted.
I was working it on other projects at the same time, so I kind of just.
Oh, I couldn't resist.
I was multitasking. Well, I've got 2 monitors, Kieran.
Even if I had 2 monitors, I'd be looking at that shit constantly, and if it hadn't done anything in like 5 minutes, I would get too antsy. I'd be fiddling around with stuff.
I used to, but I remember my old manager just like, stop clicking.
Stop messing with it. Just leave it.
Stop clicking. Hands off the mouse.
Just leave it for a minute.
Leave it.
It takes. I just can't. I'll not do it with like opening an application, but like if it's been that long, I'd have to keep. I'd be fiddling with it.
Yeah.
I'd have to just leave it. Hey,
there's a clip and a half for that.
Yeah. That's one for the clips channel if we ever start that.
Yeah, if it's been that long, I couldn't help myself. I'd be fiddling
just
with
couldn't.
it.
You just get to a point where you're like, God, I just can't leave it anymore. Can't leave it be.
Oh no.
You know, idle hands are the devil's plaything.
Yeah. Oh, Christ, it's getting.
But anyway, so you've been.
Anyway,
you were watching the PC
about?
Try and boot for 20 minutes.
So I gave up on that as a fool's errand and thought, I'm going to see if I can get some other stuff working, like Nextcloud, Oh yeah, I tried to get Jellyfin working. That did actually run, but I ballsed up the configuration, so I need to try that again. But it ddid run in terms of like the web interface and everything. I could get onto it. I just ballsed up the storage configuration, and so I gave up on that one temporarily. And then I was like, yeah, I want to get Nextcloud working, and I watched some tutorials, and they were like, yeah, so it'll say it'll hang on deploying sometimes for a little while, but just give it 2 or 3 minutes, and then it'll start working. So I was expecting it to hang. I wasn't expecting it to hang for like over 5 hours.
5 hours. Oh,
like I did it in the morning, and then I went out, and I got home, and it was still fucking sat on deploying, and the CPU was like kept ramping up to 100%. And
did it ever deploy?
Well, I had to shut down the computer because I left it overnight, but I had to shut it down because it uses quite a lot of power and generates quite a lot of heat because it's ancient. So I had to shut it down, and it still hadn't done anything. So I think it was just stuck. I think I've come to the conclusion, like, I think there's certain things that I had this. This is the thing that kind of pushed me over the edge and got me to upgrade from this computer used to be my desktop. There was so many things that would kind of appear like they were a software bug, but I think deep down were just a fundamental lack of any kind of horses under the hood.
Yeah.
And like the fact that DaVinci Resolve used to just crash randomly with no explanation at all. And it would give random error message as to why it crashed. But as soon as I upgraded to a more capable computer, even though the operating system, the media footage, everything else it just works. So I think
I've had a similar experience, to be honest, with since upgrading, of like stuff that previously was you were put down to like, software's slow, or software's unresponsive, or software's unstable. It's actually like you're running it on hardware that it's within minimum spec, but like not recommended spec.
Yeah,
and at that point, it's like you're basically running it unsupported.
Yeah. I mean, which is why, even my current computer is nothing particularly special. Well, it is to me, but it's not. It's not particularly high end, balls to the wall. But compared to my old computer, it's like going from driving a 2CV to some kind of like, I don't know, fucking do everything, go anywhere, like American style pickup truck kind of fuck off thing, like an F350 or something.
Not a Rivian. Not a Rivian R1.
No, I was trying to use a metaphor that would
with all the energy efficient parts that you've put in it. Not a Rivian.
I feel
with
bad.
how you bought it specifically to reduce.
Oh, that wasn't
your
this one.
Consumption.
That wasn't this one. That's my server.
Oh right, well.
Although this one, it did also do that.
There you go. So your server's the Rivian. This is the rolling coal.
Yeah, sure. Why not?
Yeah. So you're having problems with the BIOS too.
That was a separate. That's a separate thing that I put. That was a previous misadventure. That wasn't on this one.
So that computer is just waiting to become a secure. Yes. That one's just waiting to become a security vulnerability. Just as soon as we can get it networked.
Yeah. So basically this one. That my old rig that I was using as a test rig. Basically, it's not fit for purpose, and I can't actually use it to test. So I'm gonna just have to go. I don't know. I'm gonna maybe have to dual boot my server basically, and just use my server as a test bench as well, which is irritating.
Yeah, that is frustrating.
But
that kind of also harms my planned approach of running it on even worse hardware. I think
it's probably roughly equivalent. I would say
on equivalent hardware, that kind of
it might be slightly better. The GPU is probably about on par, but I think your CPU is probably better.
Okay, so there's still hope.
A little bit.
It's an i7.
Yeah, but it's like a second gen i7, isn't it?
Might be even older than that. Might be even first gen i7.
Oh Jesus.
No, I think it's second gen i7.
Yeah, I thought it was a 2700K or something like that.
I think it is. I think it's not the K.
Oh, 2700 then.
Yeah, it's. I distinctly remember not buying the unlocked SKU.
It's not a 2700F though, is it? So it's got integrated graphics. So
It does have integrated graphics, yeah.
So it's got that going for it. It's probably more power efficient overall as a setup because you don't need a GPU.
So my hopes of... I still have hope then of running it. Well, I mean, I don't have enough parts at the minute anyway.
Yeah. Well, we'll see.
I'm missing a... We'll see how it goes, but I'll let you...
Yeah. So I've been looking at prices of hardware and stuff and crying a lot.
Yeah.
Because I need to upgrade I'm running out of storage on my server as well, so I need to get some more.
Storage is cheap though.
You say that, but if you want redundant storage and you want and it's like it's a whole thing. I'm not going to go into it now. We can talk about that offline. But yeah, so
your unrelated second issue with your BIOS,
which has actually resolved itself now. But basically, so what happened is there's a vulnerability which I may or may not have actually got
another vulnerability.
Updating the BIOS on my server. I imagine you probably haven't updated the BIOS on your computer, so you're probably still vulnerable to this. But it's okay
Almost
because
certainly.
You need physical access to the computer anyway, so it's like a...
Is this the one that those guys demonstrated where you can get a computer that's air-gapped onto a network with near physical access, but not actual physical access?
No, this is a recent one that basically it was actually a bug basically in UEFI, so it like affected literally any computer that uses UEFI.
Wow.
Instead of a BIOS, and it basically was a bug in the thing that lets you use lets an OEM show a custom splash screen on boot up.
Oh, you're kidding me.
So, yeah, which basically would allow you to basically just execute any code you wanted without the operating system being able to do anything or even be aware of the fact that it was happening underneath it.
Wow.
Basically, it was pretty bad. But it's been patched now. So, I'd been meaning to get round to flashing my BIOS for a little bit. And I was having some kind of weird bugs.
Post-flashing or pre-flashing?
Pre-flashing. In some bits of software that I thought, okay, maybe this is like a weird firmware bug or something. I'll see. I'll see if flashing the BIOS does anything. Little did I know that this was going to fuck up a certain TPM. Firmware TPM thing by flashing my BIOS, which it doesn't warn you about. It's just like, just flash your BIOS, and I'm like,
just do it. It's fine, like because it made it a lot more friendly than it used to be, right?
Yeah, so because mine supports flashback, so you don't even have to have a CPU in the motherboard or anything. You literally just you basically format a USB drive, put this file as on the root of the USB drive, plug it into a specific port, and then hold down a button. And literally, like, none of the fans come on or anything. It just flashes a light, and it takes like 5 minutes, and then it's done. So
yeah, it's like it used to be. I remember back in the day. So like, this is why I'm always reluctant to do it, because my memory of like flashing your BIOS it was kind of terrifying.
Well, it still was terrifying, and I wouldn't have done it if there hadn't been a security vulnerability, because I don't have a UPS. So I was just like, please don't be a power cut. Like, there isn't power cuts very often, but please don't be a power cut right now. I can't afford a new motherboard, please.
Yeah.
I actually don't know whether I might have been able to... I don't know whether the flashback feature would work with a corrupted BIOS. I'm not sure.
You just don't want to deal with that stuff, do you? It's like
I'd rather not have to find out the hard way.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, so I did that, and then Windows just wouldn't boot.
Oh no. So you flashed the BIOS that completed successfully, and then Windows wouldn't boot.
Yeah, Windows wouldn't boot basically because the TPM key was gone.
Oh no. And then I guess, could you not update it because you couldn't boot into Windows in order to run... No, basically, yeah. It kept coming up with all these prompts, and basically just nothing I did would let me boot in. And there was one prompt that made it basically, it was like wipe secure key or something like that, which made it kind of, in my head, was like, okay, well surely that's not going to fix anything. So, but I dual booted before then. I on another SSD I had Mint installed, so I was like, okay,
I'm just gonna try Mint, and maybe this will just force me to get used to using Mint, but I couldn't do it, Kieran. I couldn't do it.
No, you couldn't abandon Windows.
I couldn't do it. I tried it for like a few days, and then I was like, right, I'm just gonna have to do a fresh install of Windows 11.
The call was too strong.
Yeah, so I unplugged the Mint drive, booted up my computer, and Windows booted.
That's the best fix.
And it's been fine ever since. I did nothing, and it just started working, and I have no idea why.
I love fixes like that because it's like the problem can come back at any moment, and you'll have no idea what to do. Not to give you anxiety about it or anything.
Yeah. Well, it's been like over a month, and
that's the best because then by the time it comes back, you'll have forgotten if you did anything or not.
Yeah.
You're like, wait, what did I do to fix that? I'm sure I did something.
No, I literally did nothing. It just decided it was going to work.
Yeah, that's
I think I did do the wipe TPM thing, but then Windows just wouldn't boot. It just kept saying no boot drive found. So then I was like,
it's like my Windows activation, right?
Yeah.
Like I was at the point where I was just about to buy a second copy of Windows. And then
activated
it's just
itself.
activated, yeah.
Yeah. It's yeah, my server, is activated on Windows 10 Pro, and I have no idea how.
Yeah, it's just like one day, it's like they have, I don't know, it's like you get a weird error. I was getting a weird error message of like, servers are unavailable, which, like, retry was the only option. And I was like, oh, I'm sick of staring at this.
Yeah, but I didn't even have a legit license or anything. I was just happy to use.
Not like me.
I was just happy to use Windows 10 Pro without a license on my server because
like, you don't care about like changing the desktop background.
Yeah, I don't care. It's a server. I'm just using it because literally the only reason I'm using Pro is so I can RDS onto the server.
Yeah.
And I can do that without having a license. But somehow,
can you get Pro on license for RDS?
Yeah.
Ooh.
It's only Enterprise that you can't do because you have to have a subscription.
Oh, that's okay. That's interesting to me. Okay, that's given me an idea for something I've been wanting to do for a while. And
have I just influenced nefarious activities?
Not nefarious. It's just I didn't realize that you could if you were willing to sacrifice.
Oh yeah, man.
Oh, okay. That might help me out with a. Okay.
Yeah, I genuinely have no idea how I can only, I don't know, because I didn't activate it. I don't own a Windows 11 Pro key, but it is activated and it says with a digital license key. So I can only assume that because maybe I bought a secondhand CPU, maybe whoever had that before had Windows 11 Pro, and the hardware ID of the CPU is tied to that license somehow, so it just automatically activated.
Really weird, right?
I don't know.
It's like because I swapped my motherboard and my CPU.
But not your install drive.
No, I swapped that too. Because I swapped to NVMe SSD.
Did you clone it?
Did I clone it? Or did I format it? I cloned it.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, because I remember you talking about all the config and stuff that you didn't want to have to do again.
Yes, I cloned it. But like my CPU was different, motherboard was different. Drive manufacturer and like IDs and stuff would have been different. And it was like, from what I could tell from reading online, it was like, my license was for my old motherboard and CPU, and because it wasn't like a OEM license you get with like a Lenovo laptop or whatever, it wouldn't persist through like a big hardware change.
Yeah.
Sorry, it wasn't a retail license.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like, you've bought a license for Windows. It was like, this Windows copy is licensed to this hardware, and if you change it, you have to buy another copy.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just wouldn't activate, and then one day it did.
Well, there you go. Who knows?
And if you want more tips on how to fix all of your tech problems by doing no actions, make sure to follow our podcast on YouTube,
Mastodon.
Mastodon, of course, that's now the biggie. Deezer, the other
I think it's
big source of
Google
views.
Podcasts sunsets this month, I think, doesn't it? March.
Yep, Google Podcasts ends this month, goes over to YouTube Podcasts.
So good luck with that one. But we're on Pocket Casts. Big up
Yep,
Pocket
we're on
Casts.
Pocket Cast now. Audible.
Yeah.
Spotify.
Oh, shit, yeah, we are still on Audible. Yeah, Spotify. I've got my mum on Pocket Casts now.
Oh, brilliant. There you go. So follow us on Pocket Cast. The end card's updated.
I am actually really liking using Pocket Casts. It's like it's actually a very good app, I would say.
Not Spawn either.
Yeah, the UI's very nice. Something I discovered, you can set it to automatically download podcasts, but something you couldn't do on the Google Podcast app, you can set it to only do specific podcasts or filter out certain podcasts.
Nice.
And blah, blah, blah. It's actually quite a feature-rich app, and you can even add podcasts that aren't, for whatever reason, published on Pocket Casts. If you've got the RSS feed, you can just add them to your manually to your app.
So again,
and it syncs across different mobile devices with the account as well, which is nice. You do have to pay if you want the desktop app, but who's listening to podcasts on the desktop app anyway?
Yeah, and who doesn't want to pay for the Scrambled Checksum podcast on the desktop?
Me. But that's just because I'm in it. So
yes.
if
exactly.
I wasn't,
you've already heard it.
Yeah, I've heard it just now when it came out of our mouths.
Yeah, you hear it before anyone else. So if you hadn't have heard it before anyone else, then obviously you.
Technically, I only hear half of it before anyone else because you hear you before I hear you. Even if we're in the same room, that would be the case. But we're miles apart, so the latency over our internet connection.
But you hear us before the listeners.
Yes, or do I?
Well, with your once you put your server online,
what is before?
I think once you put your server online and there's that vulnerability and all your network traffic's being just like compromised, then other people will hear it at the same time, but they probably won't be listening to it by choice. Maybe that'll push them off of your system. Maybe,
yeah. They were trying to hack into me, and then they came across something rather troubling, an unreleased episode of the Scrambled Checksum.
And then they thought better. Don't want to get roasted, put on blast on this podcast.
Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah, I heard Ethan's a fascist, so or a loony left-wing socialist libtard. One of the two.
Better piece out of this. Better piece out of this system.
Yeah.
But yeah, feel free to like, comment, share, subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything apart from on Mastodon, maybe.
And you can join us for more lunacy every other Monday.
Every other Monday. Email us if you want to request all of the data that we hold on you.
Yeah, you can email us at we don't give a shit at fuckoff.com.
Wow. Maybe the fascist comments were correct.
Yeah.
Okay. Comment with us on Mastodon.
Yeah, at Scrambled Checksum on the Fediverse. Bye.
See you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.